Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 82. I got McSpanky with me, no holler tonight. We do have a free Discord, Patreon as well. If you guys are interested, please DM us. And if you would like, comment, and subscribe, that would be great. How's it going tonight, McSpanky?
Oh, it's going great, man. Although that last week of football was a little depressing, I feel like, and maybe it's just because the Raiders just got absolutely just boat raced by Carolina at home. But I felt like there was a lot of games that just went weird, and there was a lot of guys like Jawan Jennings was like one of the leading scorers who just went just nuclear, and it wasn't like the guys you expected, right? Like it was just a lot of like weird scores, and because of that, I had a lot of teams that were bad that won, and a lot of teams that I thought were good that lost. I had a team that is I'm last in points for, but I put up the most points this last week just because it was just that kind of week. So it's kind of crazy. Like it's just
Andy Dalton,
a
baby.
weird week. Yeah, I think that was the team I had Dalton in. I think I had Jawan Jennings too, and it just so happened that I just went off. So weird.
I got
times.
beat by a Jawan Jennings, Cole Kmet. Like when you're looking at it heading into the week, you're like, oh, I got a easy one, it did not go that well. You beat me by like 0.3 points in a league, which was,
yeah.
That was a rough beat. I played Rem Dog about 80 times this week, it felt like. Glad you're doing all right.
He's got all the Panthers.
Oh yeah, right. Just absolutely crushing it.
That's the worst. I swear every time someone starts going off, I start looking at my teams. I'm like, hey, I'm playing against them. Oh, again. And then it's just like, well, we're just going to lose a lot this week, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had a pretty good fantasy week. I think I was over 500 on the week, good. And at the amount of leagues we play in, I count that as a win for the week when I go over 500.
That's usually what I shoot for too. We came up a little short this last week, but the first 2 weeks I hit the mark, but not last week. So
nice. Bad week 1, week 2 was all right. Week 3 went really well for me. So hopefully it continues on that upward trajectory. If my tanking teams could lose though, that would be great.
Dude, same. I have a tanking team that's now 3-0, and I think I am like 11th in points for. And I'm like, dude, what is happening? Like, I'm starting like
all the other tankers
at tight end, and it's just like it just happens to keep working, and it's like I don't know what the deal is. Yeah.
Who are the worst starts of the week that I can get in here? All right. Enough shenanigans here. Let's get into some of this news. We had Justin Herbert re-aggravate his ankle injury versus the Steelers. It looked like he practiced in a limited fashion today, at least. It sounds like he wants to play. After I posted it, I kind of said to myself, take that for what you will. I think every single player will tell you that, I want to be out there and I want to be on the field. These are professional athletes. It's their job. They're not going to be like, nah, I think I'm cool sitting this one out, guys.
Yeah.
What do you think about Herbert?
Most people. I think he wants to play, and frankly, I think they need him to play. Their backup it's not Easton Stick, is it? It's the
Heineke, Taylor Heineke.
Thank you. It's the Heineken man. Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
And they play Kansas City this week, so I think they really need Herbert. I will say there is some like you can run on Kansas City for the most part if you have a good offensive line, which the Chargers do. So I think if Herbert can just play and just like throw enough, like if the ankle's fine enough where he can just throw like competently, the Chargers do have a chance in this game. I feel like he's probably going to play. Like the fact that he got in practice at all, I think is pretty telling. And I think it's more of like a pain management thing for him or anything. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Sam Darnold with a bone bruise, no knee damage. I didn't see any practice reports on the Vikings. Yeah, it didn't sound like his was too serious. I believe he came back into the game.
He did, yeah. He finished the game, so he was fine there. Sam Darnold, by the way, which is I think he's the QB4 on the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Shoo! I just bumped him up the tiers.
I did too, actually. I bumped him up quite a bit. Let me see.
Crazy feeling. Imagine where he started. He was probably at the bottom of all of our tiers.
I had to scroll so far in my tiers to find him. Yeah, I have him just below an early second. I have him kind of in that early to mid 25 second right now, which,
Same,
um,
same.
dude, I don't know. Like, if push come to shove, if I needed him, like, I probably give it up, but like, that's tough. Like, because
I
you don't know if he's gonna. He might just be like a 1 year rental, right? So you might be
Yeah.
giving up that mid second. If you knew he was gonna play again next year, like either for Minnesota or another competent team, like I think you could easily justify putting him in that like that Baker tier, or kind of like a late first. But I think just because
hmm
you don't know, he's like you don't know if he's going to play next year. He could be someone's backup. He could be a starter. I would argue the way he's playing, he should be a starter, but we don't know. And
Yeah.
then what happens if he goes to like Tennessee, where he
Right.
doesn't have Justin Jefferson, and obviously
Yeah.
doesn't have Hawkinson now, but like Aaron Jones, and he's got some good players around him. So
Yeah.
um,
I think it almost hurts him more at this point, like his future value having JJ McCarthy hurt. Say he comes out, and he crushes it, and JJ's healthy, and they're like, all right, we're gonna part ways, at this point in time.
right,
That's almost better. With JJ being hurt, there's a possibility that he sticks around in Minnesota and does like the 4 or 5 game thing that we thought we might see from him this
right.
year. And then you're really SOL because he didn't even get a new team, and now he's on the bench and JJ McCarthy's starting, and you can't really do anything with him there.
Yeah, I think, and part of the problem too is that next year's quarterback class, which we originally were thinking was looking kind of bad. There's a couple of prospects out there that are starting to put together some nice seasons, put together some nice profiles. I mean, we got like
Yeah,
Cam Ward out in
yeah,
Miami,
Cam
and
Ward,
Shedeur Sanders looks pretty good too, although he's a little bit of a head case, but the talent's there.
right?
Jackson Dart down in Ole Miss looks good too. Like there's some
hmm
guys that are starting to pop up that they teams might rather just take a shot on a rookie where they don't have to pay him as much. Whereas Darnold, even if he's not like a top tier starter, you have to pay him more than you are like a rookie quarterback, right? So
Definitely, definitely. If he can get him work himself into that Baker Geno range of contract, somewhere around there. We got Jordan Love. He practiced last week and sounded like he was. I don't know if he was close to playing in the game, but they kind of left it, up to our imagination. So in my mind, he was close to playing, and they just said, no, just sit this one
mm-hmm.
more out. I do think we will see Jordan Love this week. You confident in firing up Jordan Love against this vaunted Minnesota defense that's just terrorizing people right now?
Yeah, if he plays, I'm starting him.
Same.
I think you're probably, if you have him, you're probably in a position where you have to.
hmm
I think the only thing So I feel like Jordan Love, like I think he's close to playing, but honestly, is there any concern that Malik Willis is playing well enough that they don't want to rush Jordan Love back? Where there's like, hey, I mean, Malik Willis, he played great. They've gotten 2 wins with him the
hmm
last 2 weeks. Like, do they need Jordan Love back if he's not like 100% ready to go? If he's still having some issues, do you say just we'll take it, or conversely, this is the best team they've played against now in Minnesota, and it's a divisional game, so it's like, hey, let's get Jordan Love in. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think you need to have Jordan Love. Just his experience alone. He's played against Brian Flores, at least twice. So he's kind of seen this defense before. I'd
Mm-hmm.
be pretty concerned about Malik Willis being out there. Well, we saw it go bad for CJ Stroud, and everybody thinks the world of CJ Stroud. So I can't imagine,
The
what
top
kind of
five
a
quarterback.
time. Right? Oh yeah, top five. I don't know what kind of time Malik Willis would have out there versus Minnesota. I that sounds like doom and gloom.
Yeah, no, I agree. That feels like you're playing right into Minnesota's hands with that one. If
Yeah,
you go in with a pretty one-dimensional offense, or at least
definitely.
because I think some of the passing game they've had success with has been schemed up basically like glorified runs, right?
Yeah,
As opposed to like actual deep passing that Jordan Love can do.
yeah, definitely. Devonta Smith gets his helmet ripped off. Some dude jumps on his face
That was
after he's
bad. That was
probably
scary.
all right. Yeah, man. You got to chill because it was like way. I don't know. I didn't hear the whistle or anything in the video, but like it was
And
way late that dude came in. Like it
that was part of
wasn't
the
like you
problem
were
too.
already
There
on the
wasn't
way.
Yeah, there wasn't a whistle, or at least not like a clear one. But the scary thing, it looked like Smith like wasn't moving on the ground after his helmet popped off, and then the dude just
hmm
buried into him. So like that feels like I mean you never know. Like sometimes these plays they look worse than they are. and some of the ones that don't look as bad, they end up being awful. But I feel like Devontae Smith probably doesn't play this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. We monitoring the concussion deal. They also have the bye week in week 5 as well. So if he doesn't play
Right.
this week, he gets 2 weeks to recover from that. And I'm with
Exactly.
you. It could be a very good possibility. I can't remember who the Eagles are playing off the top of my head. Let's see.
Here, actually, I have it pulled up.
Okay.
They are playing the. Of course, I can't find it. I just had it. The Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay
Okay.
in Tampa, so they have to travel too. So it's always a little bit of a troublesome with concussions.
Yeah, definitely somebody to monitor for sure. I know I have a healthy amount of Devonta. We got Trey McBride also in concussion protocol. He also knocked out my boy Brian Branch. Brian Branch,
Yeah.
like I thought he died on that play.
That was bad. It was a scary play.
Man. Yeah, I was almost like I was probably gonna sob, if he just continued to lay there. He got up, walked off the field, it was all fine. He's concussion protocol too. Not that anybody cares about defense except for Spanky's IDP league where he has Brian Branch. Anyway,
I did. I had to drop him.
Yeah,
it was sad.
You dropped him. Oh, he's been a stud.
Yeah,
Actually, I don't know an IDP score if he has, but he's been a stud on our defense, that's for sure.
He's been pretty good. But yeah, so Trey McBride's probably not going to play. That's kind of a bummer. He's been one of the few elite tight ends that's actually done well.
Sure.
There's a bunch of the top tight ends have all kind of just spit the bit this year, and McBride's actually been producing. So, but these guys, like it's probably the smart thing, right? If he's not right, like these head injuries, you gotta protect your players, and so kind of a bummer. But there's opportunity for some other guys because it's a great matchup too because they play Washington this week at home. So there's plenty of opportunities for Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson, and maybe it'll be a Dortch week.
Ooh, the human Dortch, baby.
Human Dortch.
We also got Sam Laporta with a low ankle sprain. The Lions also have that week 5 bye. There's a lot of thought that he's possibly not going to play in this one because of that. I don't know. He hasn't done anything for your fantasy teams anyway, so it kind of makes the choice a little bit easier if he just doesn't play at all.
That was my thought. It's like he's already been bad, and now he's not 100%. Like if he goes in, it's kind of like a game time decision. He ends up suiting up. You feel like you kind of have to play him. He already hasn't been producing for you. Like, what's your confidence level starting him? Assuming he is active.
Yeah, even my Lions fandom, it's not starting to wane on Sam Laporta. I still love Sam Laporta, but putting him in my fantasy lineups, this week I'm actually just trying to generally bench him, even though it is a good matchup for tight ends. It just the volume hasn't been there whatsoever for Sam Laporta at all, so it makes it tough for him.
Well, Laporta died for JMO to live. That game's also on Monday night, by the way, so that's another tricky point too. So if he's went trending towards a game time decision, like I feel like you almost can't leave him in your lineup unless you also happen to have let's say Noah Fant on the other side of that game. That way
Sure.
Okay, I at least have a tight end option.
Definitely. Should we hop into some of these dynasty updates, kind of where players are moving and what's happening around here? Okay. So for our quarterbacks, we have Sam Darnold, Jaden Daniels, Daniel Jones, and Caleb Williams kind of all bumping up. And for the down guys, Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes. Two different stories there. Trevor has looked like straight booty cheeks. And Mahomes, we were kind of talking pre-show, it is just not – he's the best quarterback in football right now, but it's not converting over to fantasy points for your team because they are winning by playing defense, just some clock management with the short throws and the running game. I think possibly, maybe they run into some tougher defenses and that running game can slow down. Maybe we can get some more Mahomes passing weeks out there, something along those lines. That's what you got to hope for. I don't know if there's a team out there that is going to force Mahomes to throw the ball other than Buffalo, and I don't even know if they play in the regular season.
They should because they both won their division last year. But yeah, so the thing with Mahomes, and just to clarify, like I bumped him out of my tiers. I bumped him from the tier with him and Josh Allen together to the next one. So it wasn't like I
Same.
moved him like way down. I just
Right.
took him out of. I just said, okay, Josh Allen's better. I for sure want Allen over Mahomes. But and then I started looking at some of the trades to kind of get a feel for like, well, can you tier down from Mahomes? And the reason why I kind of started thinking of this is so last year he was a QB 14 in fantasy points per game. That's exactly where he has been this year too. So it's like he's valued as basically the QB2, but he's giving you not even QB1 numbers technically. He's a QB2.
Sure.
So some of the trades here. This happened yesterday. It was Patrick Mahomes and Khalil Herbert for Jalen Hurts and Chris Godwin. I think I would take the Hurts and Godwin side there. I might be on an island there. I don't know. What do you think?
I can't. I think the value is fair and the return, everything. Yeah, it's just a Jalen Hurts thing for me. I'm not fully confident. Like Jalen Hurts has always been replaced, and I know he has yet to be replaced. He's got the contract, blah blah blah. Yeah. Saquon's stealing all those dudes' touchdowns though, so it's coming down to can Jalen rush enough and can he pass enough?
Sure.
And without AJ Brown on the field and now Devonta Smith on the field, that's going to be a tall task for Jalen Hurts.
That's part of the problem so we didn't really talk about with Devonta Smith earlier, but he didn't practice, AJ Brown didn't practice, and Goddard didn't practice either. So, I mean, if that's the case, if for some reason all three of those guys are out, it's like Jahan Dotson and Johnny Wilson and Calcaterra, I think is their backup tight end with Saquon. Like that's not going to be a good looking offense. So there's definitely room for concern there. Another trade that happened, this one was interesting because this involved Jaden Daniels, who is everybody's poster child recently. So it's Mahomes in a 25 third for Jaden Daniels in a 25-2. That feels like that feels really close to them just going almost straight up for each other, doesn't it? Like that's flirting with it.
Yeah.
Especially if it was a late and an early swap, or even if they're mid, like the value between a mid 25-2 and a mid 25-3 isn't like extreme.
Right.
That feels spicy. I don't think I could do that.
I can't get behind that either. No way.
And it's part of it too is like I know Daniels is outproducing Mahomes right now, but there's a long track record of Mahomes doing this for multiple years, and this is like a down stretch of him as being QB 14, right? Jaden Daniels, like a down stretch for him might be out of the league. It might be a long stint on IR. Like he's looked good through 3 games, but we'll see. We've seen rookies go on good stretches, and then defenses kind of figure out how they're playing, and then totally start to shut them down. So to his credit, Cliff Kingsbury's put together a decent offense that's looked good for the first 3 games. Let's see when defenses start, now they have about 3 games of tape, how they start to play this offense and see if they can keep things going, or if he starts to taper off a little bit, which is my concern for Jaden Daniels.
Definitely. I would need to see half a season, 3/4 of a season to be able to justify this that trade there with the Jaden Daniels in the second. Not to say that he couldn't get there. He continues on this trajectory. He could very easily be in that the upper echelon, especially with his rushing upside. This next one, I am definitely down for Joe Burrow, Brian Robinson in a 25 first for Patrick Mahomes and Bucky Irving. I'll do that in a heartbeat.
I will too. This felt like someone saw the Bucky Irving stats of or the quote of how he needs more playing time and took that a little too far.
Yeah.
And honestly, Burrow he hasn't looked great, but he's been putting up good numbers for fantasy. The Bengals offense is a mess right now. The whole team is a mess, I should say. They're 0-3, but him and Chase are putting up numbers, which is really all you care about for a fantasy perspective.
Defense is really bad too, so they're going to have to continue to throw.
Yeah,
for the running game, that's awesome. Yeah, running game hasn't been good either, so there will be no. It's going to be all for the air.
How low would you be? So let's say you're willing to move Patrick Mahomes. How low down the quarterback tiers would you go?
Let me see here. Let me sort.
Not to put words in your mouth, but I feel like the Jordan Love, Kyler Murray. Honestly, if I was going down to Jaden Daniels, I could talk myself into it. But I need a bigger return than the one the other guy got. Caleb Williams, I would need a pretty significant plus. Past that, you're looking at what, like Dak, maybe like Brock Purdy. I don't want to go that low.
I wouldn't feel that bad about a Dak one, just depending on what that plus was. If you gave me a solid plus in there, I mean, Dak has a great track record of producing for fantasy as well. And he has that security in Dallas. He's got CeeDee Lamb there. He's got Jake Ferguson. Dak has always been, a lower value player that produces at higher levels, if that makes sense.
That's fair. No, I can see that. And really, you're not giving up that many years. I think Dak's 31 and Mahomes is 29, so it's not like they're
Right.
super far apart. What kind of like if I said the plus was like a non-playoff first, but not a top like 3 pick, so like 104 to
Oh yeah.
106 next year.
Yeah.
You doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that gets done?
Yeah. Man.
Because if you think that gets done, I will find my Mahomes shares and I'll try that anywhere I can.
I would give it a shot.
Okay.
I think maybe you have to add something on your end, like a Bucky Irving, something along those lines, something that's got a little bit
Yeah.
more hype than
Like
production, to push that
or
over
like
the edge.
even like a third, like an early third, maybe like
Yeah.
somewhere in that kind of value-ish. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm all for
Let's
that.
see. Would you go down to Caleb Williams? I couldn't do Caleb right now. No way. I know that he threw the 300 yards and it started to look slightly better, but he's still running for his life, and like
a lot
the
of that
Colts
came in
defense
garbage
is
time
pretty
too.
bad. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like that offensive line is the bigger concern. Like they can't block anybody. Did you see? I don't know. There's a little picture of like I think it's on the Swift goal line run where all four or 4 of the 5 offensive linemen ended up like face down, not blocking a single person with Swift trying to run into the end zone. It's like that's not how did this happen?
Swift needs
Like how did
that
we get
block
here?
perfectly.
So I mean that's the concern, right? With Caleb Williams, I need more of a plus than I do for like Dak. Just because there's some risk there with Caleb Williams. Like he had the one good game, and a lot of that came kind of later in the game too when they were behind. They were just hucking it. I don't believe in Shane Waldron as an offensive coordinator. I was concerned going into the year. He hasn't done anything to help that. Like I think he was the reason why DK Metcalf and JSN weren't great last year, and why Geno took a step back. And now he's kind of doing the same thing in Chicago, and he's made DJ Moore look just pedestrian, which is unfortunate.
DJ Moore's spectacular too. Did you see the JSN interview at the Super Bowl when they asked him about Shane Waldron going to the Bears, and he's like, "Good luck." It's pretty much all he said about that.
I think he's a little bit overrated. I don't think he's
who, JSN or Shane Waldron?
Shane Waldron, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he got a lot of credit where Dave Canales should have gotten some. A lot of credit.
Definitely the quarterback whisperer. As we can see, Andy Dalton is out there slinging that rock like it's 2015 and AJ Green's back on the field.
Yeah.
Let me see. Would you go to Goff?
No, that's too far.
Yeah, I couldn't either. Okay, we'll draw the line.
Yeah. That's the firm line right there. No Jared Goff.
Okay, fair enough. I couldn't do it either. Okay, Trevor Lawrence just has been awful. It doesn't. I don't think it's going to turn around. Like the vibes are super bad in Jacksonville as well. And I mean, like Christian Kirk is his best weapon at this point in time. You could say what you want about Brian Thomas. It hasn't come together yet. There's been some flashes of him doing things. But I think the whole staff needs to go for this to get any better for Trevor Lawrence. And then, you're still flipping a coin and hoping that they get some genius OC in there that makes everything look right again.
One of the easiest things to do in the NFL is just get even worse at coaching and play calling,
Yeah.
and so it's like Lawrence looks broken. Like, did you see the phantom spin move he did where there's
Yes.
just no one? And
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
he just doesn't. He's just like no awareness. It's like Sam Darnold transferred his ghost seeing over to the Trevor Lawrence, and now he's the one that's struggling with that kind of thing. T-Law, his fantasy finishes each week 23rd, 21st, 26th this past week. And it's looked bad. Like he just hasn't looked good. And it doesn't
Mm.
and it's hard to at this point, it's hard to tell yourself a story of like, oh, they can get better. It just hasn't looked great. The defenses they played have been fine, not great. I don't think it's gonna get like I want out of Trevor Lawrence, and I'll just
Same.
start the conversation there. Like
Same.
I moved him way down in my tiers. Like I moved him down. Um, I have him at a late 25 first in that tier now. Honestly, if I got that, I would just take the first. I don't really care. Honestly, I would, and we kind of talked about this pre-show, but like, would you take Baker or Trevor Lawrence straight up at this point?
So I still think that even with the poor play, I think he still has that Trevor Lawrence generational number one overall, where Baker does not. I think you could get yourself some sort of
Baker was
plus.
one overall.
I know he was, but like people like don't talk about that at all with Baker anymore. You know what I mean? Like it seemed to have worn off because we're on what team 4 now for Baker. And
Yeah.
he's finally stuck. And I just think like I'm not talking a massive plus here. I'm talking like late second value, maybe somebody you can toss into your lineup. Like if you wanted to add Chuba Hubbard to Baker, I think I would do that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, if you can get a plus for sure. But let's say that whoever has Baker just says like, no, I'm not adding, or I guess whoever has T-Law says I'm not adding. Um, are you taking T-Law or Baker just straight up?
Oh man. I think I'm gonna take Baker, man. I
I think
think
I
I'm
am
just
too,
gonna roll with Baker.
and it feels gross, but like that's where I'm at. Like Baker's at least like he's shown that he's played well. He had a whole season in Tampa last year where he was great. He's been really good this year. Chris Godwin's playing some of the best football he's played. Mike Evans is still looking good. Kate Otten plays. He's on the field.
Right.
It's like I don't know. Like he's just doing enough, and like I feel like Baker's not going to hurt you. Which is a weird thing to say because for so long Baker was so like hot and cold, but he's been pretty
Mm-hmm.
consistent. Trevor Lawrence is the one where it's like, what's his ceiling at this point? Like he's going to put up a QB 15 week, and you're going to feel good about it. Like I
Right.
I just I need to. That's one of my things this week is I want to try to find all my Trevor Lawrence shares and see what I can get out of because he's been
Yeah.
bad. And but part of the problem too is like he's been so bad. Everyone knows it. Everyone's seen it. So it's like
Right.
getting him. You're probably gonna have to dip below market value just to sell him.
I think so too. I got lucky last week and I sent Trevor Lawrence, Jonathan Mingo, Ricky Pears, and a late 25 second to a rebuilder, and I got Kyler Murray, Austin Eckler, and Ty Chandler in return. And right now, that feels like just
That's good.
getting
Just for
gold.
Kyler alone feels good.
Yeah, definitely, definitely there. Okay, next up, we got these trades for Trevor.
Yeah. So
So
just to kind of justify some of this T-Law trade. So T-Law and 2 firsts for Joe Burrow and Brian Robinson. I think that's pretty nice for Burrow because that's basically what like a T-Law and then 1 first for Burrow and then a first for Brian Robinson. That feels pretty good. I would take the Burrow side.
yeah, definitely. Hoping those picks are late for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next one, Trevor Lawrence, Tank Dell, and 25 first for Bo Nix and a 25 first. So I'm assuming there was some kind of maybe those picks were like a mid and a late one, so that you're getting a little bit of a boost there on the Knicks side. But
Yeah, I couldn't do this one. I know you love Bo Nix, but throwing Tank Dell in there too, just
that's what gives me pause.
Yeah, that feels like too
Tank
much.
Dell sucked this year, and he's hurt, so
yeah,
there's concern.
yeah,
that whole trade is just gross. Let's be
Yeah,
real. None of them
it
look
really
good. Yeah.
no. No, they do not. Okay. The Red Rifle himself, Andy Dalton. You've got the question down here. What are you willing to pay for Andy Dalton? You going mid
Oh,
two?
I think I think so. I paid an early too last week. Now granted that was a 16 teamer. We talked about that, and I paid some fab for it
Mm-hmm.
too. It's funny. So the guy I
That's
traded him
really a
for,
mid two.
we played each other, and I actually won because of Andy Dalton, which was
I bet you
just
did.
um yeah. I think a mid two is fine. I think I would pay that. He looked good enough. Looks like Dave Canales said that we're gonna roll with Andy Dalton. He gives us the best chance to win. Which, if
Mm-hmm.
anyone with a pair of eyes who's watched the Panthers play the first few games would tell you that. They looked really good. Deontay Johnson looked like himself again. And Adam Thielen did just get put on IR, so that's a little bit of a hit. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that gives Xavier Leggett a little bit of run here, which he had a couple catches this last week too. So I like to see him get on the
Yep.
field a little bit more. Jonathan Mingo, maybe he can put it together with a competent quarterback now and a good scheme. So we'll see there. But I think, I mean, obviously Superflex, if you're on that playoff like fringe right there, send the second and see what the Red Rifle can do for you. And worst case, if you miss the playoffs and you just miss it, you traded the 205, 206, and it's like that doesn't have the greatest hit rate in the world anyways. So you're not
Right.
like you're not setting yourself back like years because of a trade. Like it's like oh, that kind of sucks, but we'll try again.
Yeah, I agree. I'm at the mid two with him as well. You know, most of all, the Raiders have a solid defense. Now, was that more of like this is an incompetent offense with Bryce, so we can't really scout, what was going to happen with Andy Dalton, and the Carolina Panthers kind of just jumped on the Raiders. A little bit of surprise with Andy out there, still slinging it
Thanks.
around. Going to kind of take a couple weeks at least to figure out where that middle point is for Andy Dalton. I wouldn't expect the same, production every single week from him, but he does have the quarterback whisperer behind him. So
Exactly. That's all you need.
yeah,
Um,
apparently so, man.
you just need Dave Canales. Well, and this week they get a bad Cincinnati Bengals defense at home and back in
yeah,
Carolina. So there's no reason to think that he can't put up a similar performance again.
definitely. Okay, Jaden Daniels, the darling of the fantasy world right now. This trade is bananas. 26 first round pick, 226 first, 25 first, and 26 third, and a 25 third for Jaden Daniels and Andy Dalton.
Yeah, so
Um,
3 1s and 2 3s for Jaden Daniels and Andy Dalton. Just feels
man,
that's a lot. And here's the thing. So I kind of brought this up in the Discord. We were chatting about it a little bit earlier today, and there's it was a good discussion about whether or not Jaden Daniels is worth the 3 firsts, and like value wise, if you have them and you're trying to sell, that probably is about the return you want to get. It's
yeah,
more just are you willing to pay that, and especially for someone he's a little bit like some of the concerns are still there, right? He's still kind of frail, right? He's a smaller
mm-hmm.
frame. He still has Cliff Kingsbury as his offensive coordinator, which the offenses look great through 3 weeks, but they also played the Giants and the Bengals too, those 3 games.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a 3-game sample size, right? And so now you're
yeah,
jeopardizing. I mean, 3 first. That's 3 really good players generally. Now you can kind of spin it and say like, oh, maybe it'll be like the 110 to 112. That's like a Lad McConkey last year. That was like Xavier
mm-hmm.
Worthy was going in that range. Like Brian Thomas Jr. was
Yeah,
going in that range. If you want to think about last year, Jonathan Brooks, who we haven't seen yet, but that's kind of where he went.
mm-hmm.
Like Bo Nix went in this range. If you want to think about like 3 players kind of in that area, like that's hard to swallow, because here's the like if you want to have just like from like a risk perspective, if you have 3 first and 2 of them hit and 1 of them bust, like you have a better chance of doing that than like if Jaden Daniels just all of a sudden just sucks, or if he gets hurt and like breaks his leg, or God forbid he gets injured, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
You have no other option. You put all of your eggs in that basket, and so it's just
Definitely.
I think Jaden Daniels looks great. I'm excited to kind of see where he goes, but that just feels like a lot for one player, and really like any player. Just 3-1s feels like you're mortgaging your future for one guy. It just
Yeah.
feels like a lot.
Yeah, I can't, like, the only way I can justify it is like what you said, is if those picks all turn out to be late, and you bring up the names of Lad McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr., Jonathan Brooks, Xavier Worthy. They're all hopeful prospects still at this point in time. Like, I don't think that any of those have been a huge hit by any stretch of the word. So, and we see those guys in the late first, drop pretty quickly off of the value as well. So, your best hope is hoping that those are late picks. I can't mortgage a whole future for that, because I'm guessing if you have this many picks, you're probably in a rebuild anyway, and you're doing yourself a disservice getting rid of all those picks when you can trade those at rookie drafts for pluses here and there, and kind of help your roster out a little bit more, instead of having all your eggs in that one basket.
All right. And let's say Jaden Daniels, if he doesn't pan out, well, then those picks, all of a sudden they're not late because you traded all, you're reliant on Jaden Daniels. And then all of a sudden those picks are more like mid. And then you start getting into, well, that was like where like Jimmer Gibbs went. That's like where like Achane went. That's where, guys like Brock Bowers, Dalton Kincaid, some of these,
Mm-hmm.
these, these higher tier guys. So then all of a sudden the cost goes way higher. So, that's where my concern is, right? It's just like I
Definitely.
can't justify it from like a risk profile. I can't justify
Definitely.
that trade.
Definitely. I am right there with you. You want to get into some wide receivers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so for the wide receivers that we got moving up, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Rasheed Rice, and Darnell Mooney, the Moon Man himself. He has got new life. For wide receivers going down, we Worthy, DJ Moore, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Cooper Cup, and Devontae Adams. Um, do you think Roma Dunze is startable now?
Um, yeah, but I feel great about it. Um, is if Keenan Allen's out, then yeah, I think that's an awesome start, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel better about it. If all three of them are out there, I don't feel confident that I can pinpoint which one's going to get the work. And Komet looked good last week too, so there's like,
Yeah.
and we talked about it a little bit earlier too. Like the offensive line's still bad. There's
Mm-hmm.
who's like, yes, they had a good week last week against Indianapolis, but who's to say that they don't just look bad again next week?
Sure. Sure.
I don't know.
I I'm confident in starting Roma Dunze, kind of from
Are
here
you
on out.
okay?
Yeah, just from, even though I'm only watching Bears plays on Red Zone. It seems like every time they popped on Red Zone, it is Caleb Williams going to Roma Dunze. Um, for better or for worse, whatever happened in those plays. So I think they're building that connection. They worked out in the
Yeah,
offseason together. Keenan's missed this time, and maybe Caleb decides, I have this connection building with Rome, and that's where he decides to go with the ball instead of going to Keenan. For better or for worse, for Caleb, I think he's kind of a big play hunter anyway. So he's gonna, go
he
further
is.
downfield than the routes that we see Keenan Allen normally flourish on. So I think he is startable, especially with the Rams coming up this week.
Yeah,
Um, I think we're definitely gonna find out for sure a little bit more. And the Bears don't have an overly tough schedule because they're gonna play that last place schedule. So I think there's gonna be some favorable matchups in that Roma Dunze Caleb Williams connection.
well, yeah. So their next 3 weeks, like you touched, they play the Rams, then they play Carolina, and then they play. I just had it. Sorry, the Jaguars, and
Yeah.
over in London, and so that's not like it. Here's the thing. I think you can start Rome all three of those games, and then by that
Hmm.
point, you're probably just like, well, now he's worked himself into it. You can start him whenever. Um, I don't know, man. There's still just some doubt that the Bears just might not be very good.
Sure.
And
Sure.
but there's been a few plays too where like Rome Dunze they just missed, right? Like where he could have cut a touchdown. I think it was the week 2 game where they just missed him in the end zone and he was open. He just kind of just had a reach, right? And so
Yeah.
Adunze is good. He's a good player, and I think Caleb's a good player too. But there's the surrounding. It's really the offensive line and DeAndre Swift, which aren't good, and the play calling is pretty questionable, which is more concerning than the talent of those two.
Definitely. Darnell Mooney, are you tossing him into your flex this week?
Hell yeah, dude. The Moon Man.
Yeah.
He's been good, dude. So he's gotten like a 20% target share. Like he's the first read 24% of the time. So dude, he's there. Kirk Cousins loves him, and he's going to him for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because defenses are focusing on Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and they just don't really care about Mooney. But he's been great 3 weeks. Like if you've started him every week, like he's been really good. And so I see no reason why that can't continue.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I watched that Sunday night game, and it just seemed like every time I looked up, it's Darnell Mooney catching another pass. I'm more than happy to put Darnell Mooney in my starting lineup. I got him as a starter in every league. I have him right now.
Yeah.
And, there's a chance at a deep touchdown, as we've seen,
Exactly.
happen for him. Are you concerned about Xavier Worthy?
Yes and no. Like I feel like he got a little overhyped based on week 1 just because of the 2 touchdowns, but like his usage really wasn't great. And now you're kind of seeing that like the usage has stayed about the same. He's just getting, very like schemed up plays designed for him. But I think he's going to take time to ramp up. And this is Rashee Rice's offense, right? And everyone else just kind of gets a little bits and pieces. Worthy, I think he's going to have to hit like a bomb, like a nice like end around or like a deep ball. Otherwise, he's going to keep putting up these stat lines where it's not great, right? And so am I worried about it? Like, well, his fantasy finishes where he was the wide receiver 11 week 1, and then 69, nice, and 76 this past week. So it's like you're either getting a wide receiver 1 performance or you're getting just like you're better off not. Yeah, I could play anyone else, right? So I don't know, but he's the kind of player that I feel like as soon as you put him on your bench, it's like he's gonna go off, right? And so. What are you doing with Worthy right now? You putting him in your lineup, or you going to bench him until he starts showing a little more consistency?
I'm benching him until he shows me a little bit more. I'm more than happy to watch him go boom on my bench. He's averaging 3.6 targets a game. It's 1.05 yards per route run, and it's an 11% target share. And everybody's talking about the new meta of the too high safety on everybody. That's going to take away exactly what you want Xavier Worthy to do, especially against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Like that's why this is in the league, is because of people like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen just going deep. Like they are definitely going to be concerned with that. And that touchdown against the Ravens, not the end around, but the deep shot was just a completely blown coverage. You watch the corner turn around, look at the safety with his hands up after he sees the dude walking in for a touchdown. So they, definitely were supposed to be concerned with that and not letting that happen. Until I see more targets start to go his way or just the scheme going more towards Worthy, he's sitting on my bench for now.
That's fair. Well, and the other thing too, so this week they play the Chargers, who run the ball a ton. So like there's less opportunities for the Chiefs to get on the field. That game has like I think it's the second lowest over under on the slate this week at 39.5, which is like 20 points each team. So there's not a ton of scoring opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you benching Xavier Worthy or no?
Yeah. So I think every league I have in my starting lineup. A lot of those leagues the teams aren't great, right?
Sure.
And so I do. I probably should if I have a better option. And the better option I think could be like, well, I mean, hell, like Darnell Mooney. Like
I was just going to say, would you start Mooney over worthy.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%. Like if I have,
that's where I am right now.
my mind went to like where's like the line, and I was kind of looking at like maybe like Romeo Dubs. It might be like where I'd be like, I start to hedge one way or the other, but
Sure.
and then I'd probably still play Dubs too.
Yeah,
Especially if Jordan Love's back.
Yeah, if Jordan Love's back for sure. Yeah, I'm with you there. So we got our running backs here. We got Bucky Irving on his way up. Zach Moss, Zach Charbonnet is moving up, and then we have Rashad White and Javonte going down. Rashad White has been the lead. What's that?
Did you say Zach Moss or did you say league winning Zach Moss? I think
he's not a league winner because they can't run the ball.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Whatever. Rashad White has been the least efficient running back in the NFL, I think, to this point. I think he's right down there with DeAndre Swift, and DeAndre Swift should be another dropper too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got all these stats for Bucky Irving.
Let me pull up the stat that I found for Rashad White, which was just mind blowing. So there's this statistic called the stuff percentage. Basically, what it does, it's like any rush attempt that doesn't end in a touchdown or a first down, that results in like less than 4 yards on first down or less than 3 yards on like second, third, or fourth down. Is what they classify as a stuff. Basically, 61.3% of Rashad White's carries have ended basically in that. So not a touchdown, not a first down, and then basically less than 4 yards, which is pretty bad. Like if you think about that, like that's awful. So it's like seventh highest in the league. Some of the guys that are worse, actually, Javonte Williams, which that was a little surprising, but also not entirely. Dante Foreman, that tracks. Trey Benson, which wasn't high on him coming out of college. Hasn't looked great. DeAndre Swift, which there you go. Zeke, who I think might be washed, and then Ray Davis in Buffalo, which that was a little strange, just because I feel like Ray Davis is. I still like the talent there. And then so diving in a little bit deeper, 16 of his 31 rush attempts have come facing 7+ defenders in the box, which explains a little bit of his struggles. But the other the stats where has like 6 defenders or less in the box, he has less than 1 yard per carry on those. So it's like that's 5 offensive linemen and tight end blocking. That's basically 1-on-1 each guy. You should be getting more than 1 yard per carry. Like that's horrendous. And then just holistically, Rashad White, 31 attempts, 2.13 yards per carry. Bucky Irving on his 25 attempts, 6.16 yards per carry. So like that's behind the same offensive line. That's roughly the same amount of carries. Like, I mean, how long can they continue to just plot Rashad White out there for 2 yards a pop when Bucky Irving's breaking off these nice runs left and right?
Yeah, it really can't be much longer, honestly. I tried to move some White today. I tried for Deontay Johnson, Jameson Williams, and gosh, I feel like there's one other person in there, and the name's escaping me right now. Christian Watson. I tried for all 3 of those guys in different places straight up. Was told no on every single one, not a single counter on any of those. JMO, not surprised. Deontay, I was
surprising.
Yeah, on the Deontay and Christian Watson's one, I was surprised on because Christian Watson hasn't really done anything this season. And, Deontay Johnson gets the bump from the Red Rifle. He has the huge game, so I can see why that one didn't go through there. Okay, so
real quick on Rashad White, how would you try to move him straight up for James Conner, or is that too far down for you?
Rashad White? I don't think you could get that done.
Yeah, okay. What about my boy Zach Moss?
I wouldn't do it just because I hate him. No, I would have to look. Okay. I'd have to look more into what Zach Moss' stat line has looked like. I honestly don't know. I just know he's taken away Chase Brown carries, and you can just see the clear difference when you watch that game. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think I could get.
Gosh, but the point that you're
White's Rashad White's a falling knife basically at this point, and Zach Moss is going to score points.
And Bucky Irving, I think, is just gonna like if I told you at the end of the year, Bucky Irving is getting like 60% of the carries and Rashad's down to like 40, and like Bucky's getting most of the work. Would that surprise you at all?
No, I would not be shocked at this point, especially after the stats that you've laid out here.
That's why I feel like if you can get out of Rashad White for I don't know, almost like even if you're taking like 80% of his current value, I feel like you're better off doing it.
I might go look around at some Zach Moss. I'd probably try to get some sort of third thrown in on there or something at least. See if I can't get that done. Okay, for tight ends, we got Dalton Kincaid moving back up, back from the dead. Pitts down and Laporta down. Dalton Kincaid, Josh Allen seems more than willing to throw it to everybody on that team. Like we saw on Monday night, everybody got a touchdown. Luckily, Kincaid was one of those touchdowns. Definitely not the dominant target share that I thought we would see for Dalton Kincaid going into the year. Really, and then Pitts is just perennially disappointing at this point. Luckily, I don't have much Kyle Pitts, so I don't have to think about Kyle Pitts all that much. And Laporta, I still believe in Laporta. I definitely believe in the Lions offense, and I think he's going to have his days, but they're definitely going to be, further between than what we saw last year.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is Jared Goff isn't playing well either, and the whole offense has looked not as like sharp and crisp as it was last year.
Yeah,
because even Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't been what he was last year. He's still been fine, and obviously JMO had the good week one, right? And so Laporta just hasn't had his day in the sun. Now he's hurt too, which is also a bit of a bummer. So we might have to wait a little bit longer. The Kyle Pitts one just doesn't. I don't understand it. Like this. Maybe the dude just sucks. I don't know. He's just a physical freak, and he can't play the guitar. Like I don't know. It's just
so concerning. I just think it goes down to you can't line him up as like a true tight end, and like what Kyle Pitts is doing when he's out on that field, and when he steps out into the slot, he's getting a safety or he's getting a corner. He's not getting any lineup or matchup advantages because he's not coming off the breaking off the line there. And I think that's where his struggles are, is he's getting more athletic defenders on him. He's not really getting the plus matchups for himself.
Now, I will say he fell down at the 1 yard line. He got tackled at the 1 yard line or whatever this last week. And then he also should have gotten the touchdown had he not been just I guess it wasn't pass interference, but I don't know. You tell me. Right. The dude just
flip that to the other side of the end zone.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to get into it too much, but yes. So he could have had 2 touchdowns, and then we would have been talking a whole different, song and dance. So it's like a game of inches, right? But
definitely is. So just a couple questions that I had for the week. Are you going to avoid the Lions' run defense as of right now? Right now, they're only giving up 2.7 yards per carries. 2.7 yards per carry. They had a really strong run defense last year, and it seems to have carried over and only gotten better, honestly, from just watching from an outsider perspective. Do you think if you have a good pivot that you would pivot off a running back that's playing against the Lions D?
Yes, if the running back isn't a good pass catcher. Because that is one way to kind of beat them, to kind of an extension of the run game, is those quick little like dump offs to the running backs. Kind of in the flat, which they have had some success doing. The teams have. So, but yeah, if it's like a pure runner, like let's just not to pick on Holler Skyboys on here, but let's just say it's like a Brian Robinson, like then yes, I'm definitely looking for a pivot, right? Because he's not like the most elusive pass catcher in the world. But if it's like a James Cook, like from Buffalo, then no, I don't care because he's going to get used effectively anyways.
Definitely, I'm definitely with you there. If he's not a stud, I'm going to try to sit that running back down if I can. Are the Dolphins dead without Tua?
Yeah, it's bad. And I know Pro Bowl or Tyler Huntley is going to start this week, I think, for the Dolphins, but I don't think it matters, dude. They're, I mean, oof. He's mobile. He's not a great passer.
I think it's helpful though to have Tyler Huntley back there just because of that mobility.
better than
because it
Skylar
gets out of
Thompson, but it's
get
yeah.
gets out of the pocket, play breaks down, and you have Tyreek and Jalen Waddle running out there. That's two of the fastest players, in the league, and Devin Achane for that matter. On
Yeah.
broken plays. That's more what I'm seeing is just the out of structure stuff, not so much the offense as a whole. The volume might not be as great or anything like that, but I think you're just hoping for some broken plays out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, would you go as far as the bench, Waddle or Hill?
I've benched Waddle. I can't bench Tyreek because I
Same.
think that Tyreek is still just going to get force fed no matter who's in there. It's not going to be pretty, but like Waddle was kind of already hit and miss anyway with Tyreek
Yeah.
and Tua playing. So I didn't have a hard time sitting him down. That being said, like I
No,
still
I'm
want like a
with you.
solid, player I'm confident in as a start. Waddle can still house one on a broken play himself.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't bring myself to bench Tyreek. Whether I should or not is a different question, but I can't.
Sure,
I can't do it.
sure. You want to get into these starts of the week?
Yeah. So we'll do them real quick.
Yeah.
So I'll do quarterback. I have Caleb Williams, this is more because of the Rams defense, right? Like showing a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
sign of life last week. The real and I think the Rams defensive line isn't scary anymore without Aaron Donald. So I think the O line should be able to hold up a little bit, and so I'm gonna roll him out there.
Okay. I went back to the well with Kyler Murray. I know it didn't work out
Oh
well
yeah.
against the Lions. They actually shut down a running quarterback, which was nice to see. But they're playing the Commanders, who didn't make Joe Burrow punt at all, and Kyler Murray is much more mobile and can keep plays alive a lot longer. Commanders are giving
Love
up
it.
263 yards per game passing and 3 touchdowns as well.
Love it. My running back start of the week, Jerome Ford. They're playing the Raiders down in Las Vegas. They got carved up on the ground last week. Jerome Ford he's got some good usage. 44% of the team's rush attempts, 40% route participation. Chuba Hubbard got a receiving score last week. Only the Rams and the Cowboys have given up more rushing yards than the Raiders this week. So Jerome Ford but something to monitor. He didn't practice today, so just keep an eye on that. The practice reports next couple of days.
Yeah.
Make sure he starts.
I went with Devin Singletary for my running
I
back.
love this.
The
I love this.
Cowboys. The Cowboys are giving up 5.4 yards per carry on the ground right now. The Saints and Ravens have just bulldozed through them. Much better quality of running back on those teams, but
A little bit.
yeah, a little bit. But Devin Singletary has been solid this year, and outside of Malik Neighbors, I think Devin Singletary is a big part of the offense, and I think it's all wheels up for him this week.
Yep. Singletary could have had 2 touchdowns last week too if he hadn't kneeled at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
That one hurt. All right. This one went the wide receiver start of the week went a little down the rankings, but Michael Wilson from Arizona, they get the Commanders at home. Trey McBride doesn't sound like he's going to play, so it should be I think Michael Wilson's a good chance to find the end zone. The Commanders have given up the most touchdowns to wide receivers in the league so far, and the most fantasy points against. So I feel good about Michael Wilson. I think he gets a touchdown this week.
For my wide receiver, I got Rome Odunze. Same reason that you laid out for Caleb. He's getting the Rams. The Rams are giving up 180 yards to wide receivers right now. And I just think it's all wheels up for Rome Odunze here versus the Rams.
Let's go. And then finally at tight end, this feels a little gross, but Zach Ertz. They're playing out in Arizona. This is a nice revenge game for Zach Ertz. Obviously, he was in Arizona. He's being used quite a bit. 70% target share on that offense, which is 11th most amongst tight ends. He's the first read rate at 19%, which is 7th among tight ends. So he's a focal point of that offense, whether he should be or not. If any kind of tight end premium league, he's going to get a decent amount of catches. He might not do anything once he catches the ball, but he's not gonna kill you either because he's going to get at least consistent volume there. So
definitely. And I went with Dallas Goedert. I'm just looking for straight up volume, and if AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are going to be out, I think Dallas Goedert is in for a big day. Even though it is going to be a tougher matchup versus Tampa Bay, very solid defense there. But yeah, give me that volume.
Love it. Especially if Devontae Smith and AJ Brown don't play. That's a
Yeah.
smash.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Well, do you have anything else for the people?
Just so this week, start to get a feel, figure out what your team's records are. Look at your team's records, look at their points for, and then start to make a decision on whether or not you are going to try to contend or rebuild. The worst thing you can do is finish between like fifth and seventh, fifth and eighth, because those middle four teams usually you're getting the not like the worst of the picks, but like you're finishing outside the money and you're not getting a top four rookie pick. So try to make a decision one way or the other. And generally around this time is the time to do it. So start taking inventory of your rosters.
Yeah, definitely. I'm right there with you. That's what I'm starting to do right now. Should I be tanking or not?
Mm-hmm. Go all in or all out, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. See you guys.
Perfect. Well, see ya. Peace out.